Hi everybody, you're listening to a career advice webinar by the Royal Australian Chemical Institute, the Professional Association for Chemists in Australia. I'm Dave Samet, coordinator of the RACI Mentoring Program. A lot of larger corporations and government organisations offer graduate recruitment and internship programs around this time of year. Notably, this can include a wide range of organisations recruiting scientists for jobs outside the laboratory. However, the recruitment process for these types of programs is often quite specialised and highly competitive. This webinar will include a panel of experts talking about the very particular form of recruitment, this very particular form of recruitment. Before we start this evening's panel session, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting all around Australia. We recognise the elders, past, present and emerging, and also recognise their contributions as Australia's first scientists and engineers, building a healthy and safe community, what they've done and what we can still learn from their ways. We'd like to thank our panellists for this evening, Robert Waugh from NAB and Asma Zahid from Salesforce. And we'd also like to thank our sponsors for the RACI Careers Development Program, DCS Technical, Envirolab and Laboratory Credit Union. So thank you everybody and delighted to have you participate tonight. To kick us off, Asma, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your role in your company?
Sure. Thanks, Dave, for having us. Hi, everyone. So I work at Salesforce, as Dave mentioned, and I've been there for almost 2 years. So I will be completing 2 years in July. To be honest, it feels like it's been such a long time. I just kind of embrace the values of Salesforce and how we do things in terms of as being a good tech firm from the US. So we are growing in Australia. So in terms of campus recruiting, we're an emerging market, and that's the best way to start looking into roles within Salesforce, because there's so many opportunities when there's such big growth anticipated in the region. Prior to Salesforce, I was working at EY for 5 years. So that was a great experience for me to break into the Australian market. So I'm originally from Canada. And I moved to Australia about 7 years ago, where I joined EY as leading their campus recruitment team here in Sydney, New South Wales. And so, yeah, as you can see from my Canadian accent. So Dave was mentioning, where is the accent from? It's all over the place. I know. I'm going to try to be as articulate as possible, because sometimes it can just kind of get all over the place. So there's some Moroccan here. I'm born in Morocco. And when I was 10 years old, I moved to Montreal with my family. Obviously, I wasn't able to do it by myself. With my family, moved to Montreal on the French part of Canada and spent a lot of time there. And that's when I finished my uni degree. I studied a Bachelor of Commerce, and I tried to hit the workplace, but I wasn't successful really, because I didn't speak didn't speak a good level of English. So I had to go back to uni and do another degree in public relations communication. And that was really a good goal of mine, to basically be able to be bilingual so I can leave Canada one day. And that's successfully happened. So I joined Deloitte back in Canada for about 4 years doing a campus recruiting role. So that's where I got started with my career, got trained there. It was an amazing, a big experience in terms of having the best in class people to help me get started with my career. And then, so I spent 4 years there, and then decided to go on a big journey of traveling. I decided that this is it. I want to go and see what the world has to offer. So I landed in Thailand for about a year and did a little bit of, searching kind of thing. I was like, oh, I'm just going to drop corporate, and I'm just going to start be a yoga instructor, and then I'm going to be a diver. So I did like all my diving courses. So done a bit of everything, and I met amazing people. So that was a great experience for me to kind of explore something different. And then, to be honest, I looked at my bank account and I was like, I can't keep up with this lifestyle. I need to make some money. So I came to Sydney 10 months later and started working at EY in the goal to save some money and then go back and travel. And then I just got sucked in by the corporate life again, and the amazing culture there and the amazing people and friendship that I've made over the past 5 years. So that's a little bit about me. I think it's been a bit long, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a personal, aspect of who I am. And I'm really, really happy to be here today and share with you my experience as a recruiter, but also my experience in working in different markets.
Obviously, 3 years of a degree in public relations has served you well, because that English is flawless. On behalf of all Australians, I guess I say désolé, je ne parle pas français. Right? Robert, your turn.
Thank you, Dave. It's great to be here. Also, I'm kind of joining you from Gadigal country of the Eora Nation, so thank you for the welcome to country. So I'm Robert Waugh. I work at National Australia Bank, and I've been there for about 7 years, and I work on the trading floor of National Australia Bank. Most of the big 4 Australian banks have a trading floor, which I kind of describe what goes on a trading floor in a little bit, but I'll talk about probably my journey, how I got there a little bit first. So I didn't start out knowing anything about banking or finance. I had a very traditionally scientific journey. I went to university and I studied physics. I did that. Some of you may be able to tell my accent. I'm actually English, so I studied physics in the UK. I did my undergraduate degree at University of Sheffield, and then I went on and I did a PhD in particle physics, experimental particle physics, specifically quantum chromodynamics at University of Glasgow. And I worked on one of the particle accelerators in Europe. There's 2 major ones. One of them is CERN, and another one is DAISY in Germany. And I spent 3 years doing my PhD, and published my doctorate thesis in 1999. And very much like Asma, I had no money at the end of my PhD and needed to get a job, and I just didn't really see myself as a career in academia. I just didn't. Corduroy wasn't really my choice for suits. I thought pinstripe was probably a better choice. So I finished I did a year's postdoc while I was kind of finding myself, but eventually went and applied for jobs on trading floors down in London. And within about 6 weeks, I got a job. It just sounds very easy, but at the time, there was a tremendous push towards the trading floors, hiring quite a lot of computer scientists, mathematicians, and physicists to develop algorithms and high frequency trading systems, which is what I did in fixed income. And so I essentially rolled up to a trading floor knowing zero about any financial markets. And they gave me a stack of books, which I kind of read through. But unfortunately, the trading floor is actually a very noisy place. And I was used to working in a university, which is essentially like working in a library. So for probably the first 2 months of working on a trading floor, I actually couldn't do any work during the day because it was just too noisy. So I would go and watch standby people on the trading floor learning what they were doing. And then when the markets would close at 5 o'clock, I would go and start studying through all of the books. And I can tell you, after quantum chromodynamics, finance is actually pretty easy. And there's probably only 2 or 3 equations that you would really need to know. The Black-Scholes equation, if you want to go and have a look at that one, is the second order partial differential equation. So pretty simple for any third-year STEM graduate. And and that was it, really. That was my career. That was about 20 years ago. And I worked on the trading floor. And at some point, the head of the trading floor realized that I could explain complex transactions to people. So they moved me from trading into sales because I could talk to people and not stare at their shoes, which is a very good habit to get into. And so I went into sales. And then in about 2007, we left the UK and we went on our travel around the world. And we've been in Hong Kong and Singapore and now in Australia. And I still work on the trading floor. I've done a few other jobs since then. But very generally, I kind of realized my 20 years of working in trading and banking is STEM graduates are absolutely ideal for working in finance and banking because they just have the level of analytics and problem solving capability and actually also no pre-assumed ideas of what is right and wrong because they never really have done finance. So they're ideal graduate programs. Now, the problem is I actually never went on the graduate program. I came in as with a PhD and as a doctor, and I actually kind of came in a much higher level than the graduate program. So I've never been on a graduate program, but I do take graduates off the NABS program, which I'll talk about it in a bit. So that's it from me, David.
Right, absolutely. And it is worth mentioning that the reason that Robert and I are in contact is because he reached out to me specifically to see if we could encourage women from STEM backgrounds to consider careers in finance. So we will be holding a suitable event about that later in the year as well. So,
and that's actually been quite successful so far.
Excellent, excellent. Good to hear. Okay, so Asma, actually, I'd quickly note, Asma, that at least 2 of our mentees from the RACI mentoring program work for Salesforce very happily these days. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
So starting the beginning, what are the benefits of being in a grad program, and tell us a little bit about what's involved.
Sure. So and obviously I have to make the plug that we are recruiting at the moment. Applications are open until the 29th of March. So if you're interested in the grad program, go for it. And I'm pretty sure, Rob, you guys have programs available at the moment as well. So the grad program, basically, we welcome our cohort usually on the first Monday of February. That's when our fiscal year starts. So you would be on the grad program for a period of 12 months. To be eligible for the program, you would be in your penultimate year and graduating at the end of the year to join us in February of 2022. So please do submit your applications, and we do have also roles available that will become available in July as well for the same start dates. So if we talk about the cohort that joined us in the 1st of Feb, the program is segmented in four different parts. The first part is the onboarding and integration. So you attend a first day of onboarding. It's actually, it's moved to 2 weeks now. So it's 2 weeks of onboarding. So we moved it for a day and a half to 2 weeks, and where you have modules to follow. And just because we thought it was too intense the first two days, so we kind of broke it into different parts. And for 2 weeks, you're not doing actual work. You're just integrating the business and embracing the culture. So you have the time to get on your coffee catch-ups, getting to know your cohort, your colleagues. We work closely with everybody across APAC. So our interns and grads across India, Singapore, Japan as well, and Sydney, Melbourne, and Auckland. And so everybody goes through the same program, depending on when they start. So the first 2 weeks is onboarding, really integrating the culture, integrating the program, and then you start all the enablement pace, which lasts up to 3 months of joining. So enablement is done via our Trailhead platform, which everybody can have access for free if you're interested. And so you basically choose different modules. So it's really, really structured, and you get a trail guide, which is someone who basically will lead the way for you that's been in the program last year. And then you also get a trail mentor. So that's basically someone who's got 3-4 years experience to help you with your career progression. And all of our grads report to a manager that basically oversees the whole program and makes sure that everything is centralized and that you're getting the benefit across, regardless of where you are in Australia and New Zealand, you'll get the same benefits of that program, and everybody's on track. So that's the first piece. Then you enter in the second quarter of the program, which is your first rotation. So there's first rotation, second rotation, and third rotation, and that's within the same job that you've applied for. So if you're coming in as a solution engineer, you will be rotating 3 times across different industries. So you can be touching into the public sector or into financial services. So you basically just kind of exploring what are the different areas that you would be interested in. And at the end of the program, there's a week of another assessments and training and kind of interviewing, but you're basically just pitching what you've learned to work from the past year. And you're pitching to different part of the business. So if you've worked in our MuleSoft integration team, or if you've done your rotation in a public sector, you basically at the end choose which part you want to be offboarded at. You're pitching for that. And then the different team will choose which one will come into their teams. And then the last few days is quite exceptional because you get a proper ceremony with like throwing the hats and all, and you get taken out for dinner and drinks and just to celebrate the end of your program. And then obviously you enter your team where you start working on, where you start actually working with a specific team depending on what contract we're working on. So it's a really, really well-structured program. It's all about the enablement. So I know some other programs, usually you will be doing some training for 2 weeks and then straight on to the client. The Salesforce culture is more around, we are making sure that you actually really, really grasp the culture, you're really well trained, and then we send you to the client. Not meaning that you won't see any clients for the first year. You will actually be shadowing and going into real meeting and looking into terms of how people are doing it. And then when you're ready, that's when you offboard, get into your industry group and start being a kind of an associate. That's what we call it, an associate into your specific team. That's pretty much how it is. There's a bit of differences across different teams. So if you're a solution engineer or a sales strategy, or if you're joining a sales team, the business development team, the program will alter a little bit based on the training, but that's basically the frame that we have for the 12 months of the grad program. And you come in permanent, so you don't have to reapply at the end of the program. So you come in as a permanent employee from day one, and then you go through the 12 months program, you get afforded, and then you join your team. That's pretty much.
Thank you very much. Now, the characteristics that you know, look, I've never been through a grad program, and I'm not excessively familiar, but the characteristics that I've always understood of grad programs are structured learning and rotational experience being very characteristic of grad programs. Is that a fair characterization? And that can be quite different to the experience of someone, particularly who goes to a small company where there probably won't be a lot of training, and number two, there won't, you know, you'll just jump in and do the job. There won't be a lot of movement around learning different things.
Yeah, so I guess every company is different. I know from my experience with the Big Four, you do the 2-3 weeks of training, but you're always constantly training every month, every 2 months, you're back into the office and spending a whole day or 2 days of enablement. So some roles probably would require you to explore a different part of you know, the ground floor before you actually move on to the next area. If, as an example, someone who's working in audit will have to basically explore first section before they move to the second section and then complete. So that makes sense for those companies to operate that way. But for other companies can have the different type of structure. So they can probably have their grads joining on a 2 years program and rotating every 6 months. So they can have actually deeper grasp of what they're doing. I definitely agree. I think the grads usually will, whenever we ask, why did you choose this company or that company, it's basically because of the culture, the structure of the program, and also the enablement piece. How much support do you get, and not feeling too overwhelmed at the start. So breaking it into different pieces makes it easier for someone to grasp slowly the culture. And I do remember when I first joined Salesforce, coming as an experienced employee, and I was talking to my manager in India, and I was like, oh my God, I want to do this, and that. He's like, whoa, calm down, take a deep breath. You need to absorb the culture first. I know you're going to make magic when you join. I want you to really focus on creating a connection. I don't want you to kind of start and they gave me so much time to integrate and let this sink in before I was able to make a difference. And I was like, I want to make a difference. I'm ready. No, just calm down, grasp it. It's such a unique culture. You need to kind of take the time to absorb it and just feel it. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, cool. It's not like, come in, we want you to be like operational as of day 1, 2, 3. And at any level, it's like that. So it's not just the grad level, it's really a cultural thing.
That's very good. That's very good. So Robert, your additions to grad programs, you know, the elements of a typical grad program.
Yeah, as Asma said, I think many of the grad programs are very similar in structure, maybe differ a bit in length and what they do. But so I talk a bit about, maybe why we have a grad program. So certainly National Australia Bank, it wants to be known in the industry, or in the banking industry in Australia, at least as having the most talented workforce and bankers available to it. And the reason that we're doing that is that, as many industries, there's a lot of transformation going through the banking industry, banking and financial services industry at the moment. And what we've identified is the fact that we need to develop the talent in people to lead us through that transformation over the next decade or 2 decades. So it's really important for us to get the right people in at the graduate program, because they're going to be the leaders of the future. So that transformation of our organization and driving performance, we need to be future fit. And what future fit means is data enabled, API driven, customer focused, all of the machine learning and artificial intelligence required around supporting both our customers and supporting our bankers. And we need to make that transition now by hiring the right grads with the right capability, which is why I think STEM is such an important subject for us to target on those people. But when it comes to actually the program, I think ours is, ours is about 2 years long. I think it starts, it's late in April, so the applications are for a start in April. It goes for 2 years, and it goes, well, there's a pre-induction bit where they do quite a lot of the training, and you understand about banking and the vision of and strategy of the bank. But the 2 rotations, you work in 2 separate parts of the business, and that can be anything from data and analytics. Obviously, banks generate a lot of data that need to be analysed. You could work in the business bank. You could work in corporate institutional bank, which is where I work, in risk, which also takes very analytical studies as well, or in finance. And there's a number of others, probably less so for this audience, but there's other sectors as well. And you do 2 rotations each for kind of about 9 to 12 months. And while you're in there, you do 2 rotations with different teams. And our grad, I've actually just finished one graduate. She's just finished with me, and she's gone and got a permanent role now. And she was, although they're still training and they're still learning, and they maybe don't know, their level of detail of knowledge is not massively deep, they can still add value. We do give them various projects that actually have to deliver for customer needs or for various research projects that they want to do. And the graduates that I've had have always managed to deliver additional value to what we're doing on the trading floor. Now, obviously, they take a lot of training, which is, part of our job is to kind of bring them up the curve. But they're definitely, you'll be adding value within 12 months. So that's the program. It takes about 2 years, or 1.5 years or 2 years. And then at the end of that, based on the rotations that you've had around the various businesses, jobs will become available. And then usually what happens is people go back to one of the teams that they worked with, and they will be offered a job in their permanent role, and then they're off. So that's pretty much it. I'll stop there, because I think you probably want to ask questions as well.
I do. I mean, yes. So that's a very good point. Remember, everybody, there is a Q&A function. So if you do have questions, we'd love you to put them into the Q&A, and then other people can vote them up. We do have questions. I've already got some planned questions, but we always love the questions from the floor. Let's cut to the $64 million question. The recruitment process for graduate programs is quite specialised. It's quite different to normal recruitment. There's probably a better word than normal, but to conventional recruitment. And it's highly competitive. You will be dealing with volumes of candidates ever so much greater than a lot of other recruitment. So, where do we start, Robert? Just sticking with you for a minute. Where do we start to talk about recruitment? What are the elements of the recruitment process?
Yeah, so obviously we have a pre-screening process, which is an online application form and an online ability assessment that they obviously have to pass through before they actually then get through video. Obviously, in times of COVID, it's all video interviews now, and I've done a number of the interviews for the graduates, and we probably I look for kind of 4 things. The first thing is extracurricular activities above and beyond what their standard degree is about, obviously to just demonstrate that you're not all about the kind of single subject. The second thing is demonstrating previous leadership experience, and however that manifests itself, we think that that's really important. And then also work experience, and don't think that even something very small, the sheer fact that you've managed to hold down a job and turn up on time and understand what it's like to be in a work environment, that's very important for us. And then obviously the last thing, you can do tremendous preparation on this, which is actually understand something about the banking industry. You've come to apply for a job in the banking industry, so at least you should have done some research, understand about National Australia Bank, maybe some recent news, try and understand, maybe even have some kind of questions that you could ask your interviewer. Those 4 things, man, that will get you through to the final bit, which is there's assessment centres where you come in and we kind of observe you doing group problems, and then we look to see how you actually, because individuals sometimes are great, but individuals sometimes don't work great or well in teams, and so we also look at that teamwork capability, support for other people, and that's it, and you're in.
Excellent. So Asma, we've talked about, Robert mentioned elements there, starting with an online application, a video interview, a group interview. What other elements are involved in the application process?
Yeah, so for us, it's very simple. You just submit a resume. I know that sometimes in the market, we ask for questions, motivational questions to answer and things like that. So we ask for CV, and obviously we do the screening based on how the CV looks and all the components that Rob mentioned around experience, extracurricular, and degree fit. Now these days we don't really look at the degree, and we just have this approach at Salesforce that a degree can lead you anywhere, unless it's required for the specific role that is required for the specific of the role. So if you're applying for a cybersecurity role that's very specific, then we would require someone with a computer science degree or a science degree or techie degree. But I've hired people in the solution engineering space with a psychology degree, with commerce, with communication, with chemical engineering, all over the place. I can look at the broad range of who I have in my solution engineering team, and it's all over the place. So it comes back to the assessment. So when I look at that, I bring people into an assessment, so similar process. You submit an application, and then I will give you a quick phone call just to make sure that, understand a little bit your motivation. And then before COVID, it's still kind of the same process. Before COVID, we used to run it in-house a whole day with the hiring managers, and then we bring approximately 10 students, and the 10 students will meet at least 40 people through the day. So when I say 30 people, it sounds intimidating, but it's actually through networking and drinks and food, and also pure, we would do the whole thing in one day. So we have the grads, so they can talk to different grads, and really we encourage our grads to share their real experience, not to lie about their experience. So just be honest, because we want people that know what they're getting in. So don't tell them that you're going to be working 9 to 5. Obviously it is flexible, but sometimes you're going to have to leave at 6. Sometimes you're going to have to start a bit early, but sometimes you can also leave at 4, right? So we really encourage everybody to set the right expectation, because we want to set everybody for success. If we're selling something that's not who we are, then we're not doing anything good for us and for the candidates as well. And they'll probably just end up, moving or leaving or looking for another job. So that's basically the component of the assessment center. We bring people in and we give them a week notice to prepare a presentation. We don't actually do interviews. The behavioral interviews tell me a day where you got to organize, or the traditional interview questions. So I give them a week, and I basically tell them in a sentence or sometimes a paragraph, in 10 minutes, prepare a presentation about who you are outside of your CV. So and it's a sales company, right? So obviously we are a tech company. We want people with technical affinity. We want people that can learn. We want people that are curious, that have got the drive, that are go-getters, but can actually communicate really well and can tell stories. So that's basically, you've got a week present to us, to a panel of 2 managers and myself. Who are you? And so then you can see the level of preparation, right? In the presentation, you can see someone who's put it together in 2 hours and someone that actually brought a story together. And some success presentations I've seen is this intern who came in with 1 slide, and the slide was an onion. And she basically told the panel, yeah, that's my presentation. I've got 1 slide. You're not going to get any more than this. And then she started talking, and she basically stood in front of us with 1 slide and told us the story about the peeling onion and referring herself to an onion and just basically peeling different layers of her. And we're just like, that's it. We couldn't tell anything else, because she was applying for a role as a solution engineer and basically customized her presentation to how a solution engineer would pitch an onion, and kind of basically bring it back herself to not easy to read at the start, but if you keep layering down, you'll just have access to me so easily. So it was such a beautiful presentation, really well put together with the storytelling that we look for at Salesforce. And then obviously that's an example. Other people come with different presentations, and people come with nothing. And that for us actually helps us understand who you are as a person. So how do you project yourself? How do you communicate? How much work? How much do you want this? Are you going to work on it for 2 hours? Are you going to prepare for a week? Are you have you done your research about our values, our culture? Are your values aligned with our culture, and what's your understanding of that culture? So a lot of people come back with the philanthropy model that we have, which is the 1-1-1, where we give 1% of our time, 1% of our equity, and 1% of our products. And a lot of people see what we do in that space in the sense where we get 7 days a year paid to volunteer. And then you can see people that have listened to us and heard us and saw what we do in that space. And it's actually very genuine, because throughout the whole day, the 30 people that they meet will have the same value. And we'll also talk about that philanthropy model, which is one of the reasons why people come to us, because the more we do, the better we do as a company, the more we can give back to our communities. So that's pretty much it. It's a 10-minute simple pitch, and then we follow up with some questions, but really questions about probing what says in the presentation. Usually a 30 minutes pitch, and then you're off for morning tea, networking with the grads, and then you come back with a little case study. So we give you a scenario on the spot, we match you with someone, and then we just want to see how you work in a team. And obviously we want people that are competitive, but also group competition. I'm not sure if that makes sense, because if you come into the sales role, you have to be competitive with yourself, right? But you also have to be able to stop and help someone on the way as a team. So we want that aspect as well. Obviously, you've got your targets, but your targets are individual, but you also have targets that are team targets. So we'd like to see those like a teaming competition. I'm not sure if it's even a word or an expression, but being competitive, but being caring about your team. And that's what we call it. We call our Ohana, we call our Salesforce Ohana, that comes back very, very often in every speech that we do. Our CEO, Pip Marlowe, talks about that quite often. But it's basically being able to help each other and just kind of, pick up the phone and check on someone, that as simple as that. So we want to see those values in the small little group activity, and then there's a little presentation at the end. So we can hear one thing that comes back very often is the presentation. So that very important is the communication skills and how you can stand with a story, keep it together, and just express yourself in a very confident way. Obviously, we do know that confidence comes with time, and we also believe in the potential of our candidates. So if we see that the person has a really good content but will need help and coaching into presenting, these are things that could actually be taught, and we always think about the potential of someone. So if you're curious, if you're a go-getter, and if you have a drive to be a sponge and learn, because you have to learn our platform, some aspect of our platform, and if you have a balance between being very business but also bringing your technical aspect into this role, that's definitely the best. That could be a really good fit, a good company for you to join. So gosh, that was like 5 minutes answer.
That was quite a long answer, but and wonderful answer. And I hope everyone listened very carefully to what you said, because you covered a lot of really important points. I've got like 50 questions as follow-up, so I'm going to try and share it among the pair of you. First question, though, from the floor. What's a solutions engineer?
A very good question. So, sorry, I know I've been talking and I just, you know, when you drink the Kool-Aid of a company for so long, you just think that everybody understands your slang. So I do apologize for that. So what are solution engineers? So the main roles that we have, obviously the sales aspect is very strong. So that's when you basically just go and cold call and then escalate the ranks until you become an account executive. And then that's when you start dealing with big clients like Nab. And then so we've got the solution engineer, which is basically a middle point between the salesperson and the technical side. So we've got all of our developers, everybody who's working on a platform, enhancing it, making sure that everything, you know, the functionalities, because we've got innovation as one of our values, and we want to make sure that we're innovating constantly. And so we have different releases every year. So every season we have different releases, but those releases happen because we've got those technical people doing it. So the solution engineer is basically someone who is really, really, really able to understand our technology and be able to just communicate it to our clients, kind of thing. So that's why we want people to have empathy, that can have like a psychological mind kind of thing, because they're like, okay, you're my client. I'm going to have a meeting with you. I'm going to ask the right questions. What's wrong? What's your pain point? Why are you frustrated about what your technology is doing for you now? Cool. All right, let me come back to you. Then those guys, the solution engineers, will go and build a demo. So they will put themselves into our customer's shoe, and with our platform, they will pitch a demo to our customers and say, this is what Salesforce can do for you. It's a really, really hybrid role. It's such a broad skill set. So if you're someone who's, you know, you've got a STEM degree and you want to utilize that, but you also want to be client facing, you know, you don't want to be in front of a machine all the time. You want to be client facing and you want to use your strong communication skills. That's the role of a solution engineer, which is, I think, one of the most beautiful roles at Salesforce. Obviously, all of them have different strengths, but this one is specifically good because you're basically catering for so many people. You're understanding the platform and you're catering for your account executive, the person that you're selling with, basically the person that made all the promises to the client. So the engineer has to basically make that happen and build a platform and pitch it to the client. So it's kind of like the in-between between technology and sales. Okay, excellent. Robin, I'm going to come back to you now. Asma was talking about in the group interviews, sorry, actually, there's group interviews, but also the personal pitch. Now, I know for a fact that one of the mentees who went through the program and got taken into Salesforce's grad program was a new Australian, recently immigrated, English as a second language, not the most confident of people in their personal presentation, and yet they got taken into the grad program. And I would assume that's because, like me, Salesforce could see the potential in this young graduate, right? She was wonderful. And I have the greatest admiration for her. I think I know who it is, but no names. So Robert, do you do something similar? Does NAB do a pitch, or, I mean, presumably communications would be something that's very important in the sort of roles that you do as well?
Yeah, communication is powerfully important. And in fact, I would say that, you know, any graduate kind of listening to this, I would say that your journey to where you are today as a graduate or you know, undergraduate about to graduate, that is a unique, right? There's always going to be a uniqueness to your story. And the power of your uniqueness, you have to combine that and take every opportunity to connect with people and to communicate your journey with those people that you've connected with, and then use it as a learning experience. And with those few things, you kind of realize that you're actually the driver of your experience and you are going to be the driver of your success. And I think we identify people like that during the interview process. And it's not purely around marks and purely around how good was the university that you went to. your experience and your journey and the way that you communicate that to us, that will have a profound effect on whether you get selected as well. So hopefully, did that answer the question?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sure, much like Asma said, the amount of work that you put into making your application directly affects how you are going to be viewed in any program. I mean, in any recruitment. You treat getting a job as a job. And people have heard me say 1,000 times, don't say to an employer, if you employ me, I will work hard. Show them that you will work hard by working hard to get the job. Sticking with you, Robert, the video submission that is very common. So often when you apply for a grad program, you do an online application form and you put in a video submission that goes with it. Is that correct?
Oh, on ours there, I'm not too sure about that. I didn't think there was a video submission, but I may be wrong. Perhaps there are on some of them. Well, ask me the question anyway.
Well, I was going to say, so what are how is a video submission evaluated? And you might throw that in a bit with a video interview as well.
Yeah, well, I think, the way that all business, whether it's, and you're right, it's Salesforce, we are a big customer of Salesforce as well. So all business is really about personal connections, and it's about making authentic personal connections, which then says, I understand you, I understand where you've come from, and I think we can help you on your journey. And that if you can have an authentic and personal connection with people, whether it's a video when you're applying for the job, or whether you're a solutions engineer, or whether you're a banker at National Australia Bank, if you can make that personal connection with an individual, then that is going to be a successful encounter for both of you. And I think that's how to do it. That's how to do the video submission.
Excellent. Well said, Robert. Now, Asma, with the video submission, I would presume that gimmicks are not what sort. You're not trying to make yourself stand out from the crowd with a gimmick. You're trying to make yourself stand out through your crowd with your authenticity.
I actually wouldn't be able to answer that. I've never used video interviewing. So is that the recording interviews?
Well, in many programs that I've come across, within my limited experience, you have an application and they often ask you to submit a 2-minute self-introduction, a bit like your pitch.
Yeah.
As a video.
Okay.
But you don't do that?
We don't do that, and I don't think I've done it with any of the employers I was with, but I know that there's different type of video interviews. So some video interviews where they give you the questions and you have to record yourself and submit it. So for people to basically just pick it up and view it when they can. Now, I have spoken to thousands of students across my experience in the past 7 years in Australia, and there's a bit of frustrations about the video interviewing, because sometimes the connection is not good, it drops you out, and then you lose your chance to pitch. So from that, I would probably say the advice I would give, just make sure that you're doing it when you have a really good connection and you can practice. Don't record it right away to submit it. Just stick to the questions and try to be concise, because the questions are really straightforward. Why do you want this role? And why do you want to join our company? And what makes you stand out? So it's basically coming back to what Rob said about talking about your experience, your extracurricular, and your motivation in a very concise way. Because I think as recruiters, if I was in the other end of watching the video, I think what I would want to assess is your passion, your motivation, and your communication style. So these are the main components that I would look for. And although I don't think we would move to video interview, like a recorded version, and me to kind of listen to it. We basically just do a 15 minutes phone chat, and sometimes it's with COVID, it's now a video chat, but it's live, and I usually bring a grad with me. And we just assess the motivation. So we've got 3 questions: is why Salesforce, why solution engineering, and what are you passionate about in general? So that's what I want to know about before I progress people into the stage. So sorry, I couldn't comment on the specific question.
Miranda has asked the associated question. Are video interviews assessed by AI first, or do they go straight to real people?
Oh, I see. Okay. I don't know. I'm not sure about you, Robert.
I think they go straight to real people, because they have people like me looking at the answers. And
there you go.
for a time being, they think that I can make a better guess than an AI. So until that point, I've still got a job.
I don't think we've quite got to that point yet.
Okay.
Okay, so group interviews, another hallmark of graduate program recruitment. And Robert, you talked a little bit about group interviews, so I'm going to circle back to it. Well, actually, you both talked about it. I liked what you said, Asma, about being supportive in a competitive environment. I'm very interested to get your opinion. So a couple of years ago, a mentee came to me and said, I'm applying for I won't say which company's graduate program. I'm going for a group interview. How do I do well in a group interview? And the only piece of advice I could offer him at that stage was, when you're in the group, watch for the quietest person who hasn't said anything yet and invite them to speak. Ask them for their opinion. It's the only piece of advice I could offer. Is that good advice, Robert? I
think that's a good start. I think there's a couple of ways to answer this question. Firstly, if the assessors are doing it correctly, then what they will identify is those people that kind of those people that are tides that rise up all boats within the team. And you can see that. You can see that in people that actually they're inclusive. They want to hear every point of view. They actually don't discount anybody's view, and they're not the dominant leading. I'm going to be the one that shouts and talks the most. Those people we very rarely select, and they might think that it's great leadership capabilities, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for people who can make the whole team leverage the entire team. And so maybe the opportunity of allowing the quietest person in the team to talk is a good one, I think, but it goes far deeper than that. It's the kind of person that is always thinking about, how can I make my team more effective? How can I make my team better? And not about, how can I look better in this team? That is definitely not the way to do it.
That's very well said, Robert. Very well said. And so the head of the Japanese Olympic Association won't be on your recruitment list. The one who says he doesn't want too many women in the boardroom because they all want to talk.
He would definitely not make the cut.
Yeah, wow, that was a global gobstopping moment. Okay, all right, well, we're running out of time, so let's see if there's other key questions. Can
I maybe follow up with a quick point also? Those organizations that would select people that solely for their own interest in promoting their own advancement, I don't think you should be really wanting to work for organizations like that either. So you have to be very mindful of, do they want me to work for this organization, and do I want to work for this organization? There's two questions that you need to answer in an interview. It's two-way.
That's very well said. Now, of course, graduate programs have a reputation of being highly intense, long hours, hard work, a little bit of burnout if you're not careful. Is that an undeserved reputation? Asma?
Okay, so I'm going to try to talk about Salesforce, because obviously I've got perspective of different programs as well. But again, I think that I am a very, very big fan of EY, and I'm a very big fan of Deloitte. So, but they're very, very different from the world I came into at Salesforce. And so at Salesforce, I do hear every day work-life balance. And I've heard it so many times in my career, but actually came to a place where it's actually existent. So obviously it's a very, very flexible work environment. And I'm pretty sure you've heard about the new commitment that we've made of the work from anywhere model. which is basically obviously coming out of this pandemic and still going through it, but coming out of this pandemic, we want to encourage our employees to work from wherever they want. So if what they want is to work one day from the office and the rest of the time from home, they can do it. And if they want to do 5 days at the office, they can do it as well. So it's really, really flexible. And obviously there's some roles that will require you to be at the office every day. And those roles will be aligned to the need. So where I'm going with this is because that's what we want. We just realize that our employees are more productive when they can feel comfortable from where they work. If they can't commute 4 hours a day, and prefer to stay home, so why not do that? So our productivity didn't change, and we're like, okay, let's try it that way. So being flexible opens the door to different things. So that means that it doesn't become the usual 9 to 5. And we just want to make sure that our employees are well balanced. And that's something that I feel as well. I always checked on. My manager is always like, how's your workload? Is it too much? Do you need help? We've got our resources we can bring in. I have never been asked that in another job. I've never been asked how am I doing? It's just like, you just need to make it happen. If it takes 10 hours a day to do it, just do it. So, and I know that a lot of that's the reputation of some of the programs in Australia is that, you work really, really hard and you work really, really late, and you have to, so you can be more competitive and progress into the ranks. I could testify that Salesforce is not like that. It's really, really, really flexible. And when they kind of feel, they always take the time to take the pulse and assess what's going on with the employees. And as just an example, this is was announced recently. They probably had some teams working really hard because it was the end of the quarter. So they made a global decision to give us Friday off tomorrow. So they just decided tomorrow everybody's off. Everybody's taking a personal day. Everything you're doing, you're moving it unless it's a very important client meeting that you must attend, but everything else is cleared. And that was announced on Monday, which is great. So I don't even have to go to my manager and say, my manager who's in India, to ask, oh, can I take it a day off? It's actually just been blocked. Obviously I've got a meeting tomorrow and I will take it because it's very important. But these things come very, very often. This is the 5th day we've got in the past year where the global leader of the global head of HR just said, everybody stop, you need a day off. Everybody goes for a day off, and if you can, you do it. But on top of that, my manager gave me 4 or 5 days here and there just because I felt a bit stressed, and he's like, okay, push through this and it's fine, but at the end of this you can take like a week off and you can just charge it, because it's balanced, right? If it's really, really busy, then you're going to have to put in the hours, but if it's slower, then obviously take some time to recharge. And that's basically how our managers that are managing employees, that's how they think. It's encouraged, and it's not something like, oh, just pretend to work because you have to look good. No, your job is done, it's fine, then you can take some time, reflect and recharge and come back stronger. So not sure if I gone beyond the question.
It's a fair answer.
Basically, Robert, it's flexible.
Robert, trump that.
Yeah, I think it'd be very difficult. I think mental health and well-being is also very important for National Australia Bank. It's very important for us not to burn out graduates, and actually demonstrating during COVID that most of us went to working from home or hybrid working with kind of part-time in the office and part-time at home. And actually what we realized is that productivity went up, and it's because people were, saving themselves an hour and a half or 2 hours a day commuting. So, and we've actually gone back to that kind of hybrid structure where at the moment I'm not working full time on the trading floor, which if you'd have told me that 20 years ago when I first started, I think I would have just been absolutely shocked. When I first started, used to get Saturdays off, and it's very radically different now. It's very much more hybrid working, very much more flexible hours. It's about productivity and results rather than hours in the office. And very specifically during COVID, we've been very focused on mental health and well-being, because obviously the isolation of working from home and Zooming all the time. So it's incredibly important. We don't want to invest time, effort, and money in graduates just for them to kind of burn out and not to continue to work for a long career, long successful career at NAB. It's a very old school attitude, and thankfully it's died out.
Excellent. Okay, well, we've just about run out of time, but I've got a couple of questions from the floor that I'd like to quickly cover before we wrap up, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
Sticking with you, Robert, for a moment, somebody's asked, if you previously worked at the NAB, will that give you leverage when applying for the grad program?
Oh, yes, I think they would. In fact, I think we do have an intern program. I actually also had an intern, which was, I think, between years 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. I can't quite remember what she was doing. And she was computer science as well. And so we do have an intern program. And then if you do very well on the intern program, you get whatever VIP access to the grad program and got, pre-selected. So I think it does help if you're on the intern program. I'm not sure how you worked on this before, though.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, then for both of you, are grad programs beneficial for someone who doesn't really have a solid idea of what they want to do after their degree, or is it only for people who are focused?
So I would say that if you're in that situation, and coming back to Rob's point, internship programs are the best way to kind of explore options. And these days you can do them at any stage of your uni degree. So I know a lot of people before joining Salesforce, they will probably do a couple of internship programs. And obviously it's not going to give you a big idea of exactly what you want, but at least you can explore the industry that you want to be in. You want to be in tech, do you want to be in professional services, do you want to be in banking space? So then that kind of give you a better idea of where to go. But I know that at Salesforce, we do welcome people and we try to assess them as best as we can in the sense or see where their fit is, but also we try to kind of challenge them. I had a lot of students coming in for the wrong job, and I basically moved them to another job and I said, hey, have you thought about a solution engineering role, or the sales strategy role is probably more aligned to you? Done their research, came back to me, they said no, or they said yes, please progress. So we kind of move people around, and then had other instances where I had people coming into the business development program, stayed there for 6 months, and they said, oh, I'm really sorry, but I don't think this is right for me. So what we did is try to find the right fit for them. So basically, obviously we want to select the right people to join the program, but if you're in Salesforce and you're a really, really good, a good fit for the team and for the company, we want to keep you in. So we'll do our best to kind of find the right fit for you. And then obviously if you've tried and it's still not, you just still didn't find where you want to go, then you can move out and try different things. But it's really, really, really hard. How can you come out of a degree sometimes and just, oh my God, like, is that where my career is going to be? I mean, as an example, myself, when I got over a commerce degree in public relation, and I just got into Deloitte because it was an entry-level role, and then somehow got into the campus recruiting team. And I was like, oh, okay, well, there's a role there. I'll go for it. It looks interesting. I want to be like that person who's presenting in front of the class. That's going to be my role. So I got in there by mistake, because it wasn't really what I kind of thought I would do, but then I stayed in it by choice because I actually realized that I enjoy it. So you just have to test things and try different things. For some people, it will be a career for them from the day they started in a specific role. It probably will continue, but I'm just telling you that the role you're going to be doing next year is not going to be there the next 5 years or 10 years. It's going to change. So the key here is try different things, keep upskilling, try different things, and then eventually you'll just keep growing and developing in the company, or maybe multiple companies.
Absolutely. I'm going to quickly add before I cut to Robert that there's nothing like networking. You network, you meet lots of different people, you find your inspiration, and that gives you your idea about what you want to do. And with that in mind, next Thursday night is our monthly camaraderie online networking. So, we'd love to welcome any of you who wants to broaden your experience and broaden your network to come along. Robert, sticking with the question, grad programs for people who are unsure about what they want to do in their life.
Yeah, I think I'd echo the sentiments. I think the internship is the way to go. And, because you don't want to be stuck on a program that turns out that you actually hate. So really, if you're unsure, you should go and test out on an intern program on a few things just to make sure that it is, within the realms of what you want to do. And the reality is, when you start on these programs, the job that you got at the beginning is definitely not going to be the job you've got after 10 years. Almost every industry is going through radical change at the moment, and you're going to have to radically change your skills as you go. And so it's not, you're not going to be in the same job until you retire. Absolutely not.
Okay. So the last question, From Sarah, what is the benefit for a recently graduated PhD student choosing a grad program pathway rather than entering the same organisation by applying for a higher paying permanent role as you did, Robert? Are grad programs a good in for organisations that can be difficult to enter as an outsider?
If you've got a PhD already, and I assume it's in a STEM subject, if you're on this call, don't go through the grad program. Just come direct to us and apply.
There you go.
No previous knowledge necessary.
There you go. Absolutes. I love that. All right. Well, I think that means that we have answered our questions for this evening, and we've done just about to time too. Asma, is there anything that you'd like to say to wrap up the event on behalf of Salesforce? Would you like to give a quick pitch for the Salesforce application process that is still open for another 4 days?
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. Yes, so we do have application closing soon. I may extend it actually for another week. But if you don't find the right fit for you this time around, we've got application opening in July as well for internship programs starting in November, and then grad program starting on Feb next year. I also want to invite everyone on the call, if you wanted to add me on LinkedIn and connect. And I've helped a lot of people on the way, either finding them a role at Salesforce, but also a role at EY or connect them with any other recruiters in the market. So although we're competitive against each other, we'd like to help each other in the grad recruitment market. So please do connect with me, and I can see what I can do for you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Robert?
Yeah, I just wanted to finish by saying National Australia Bank's a very creative and amazing place to work, particularly the trading floor where I do. You'll be constantly learning kind of new things, and the industry is kind of radically changing. And what it's going to look like in 10 years' time with AI and blockchain and cryptocurrencies is going to be radically different from what it is looking at now. So industries and transformation are always exciting. So you will have a very exciting place to work. They'll invest very heavily in your education and curating your career into the future for you to be a future leader. And it's been a really great place to work personally. And I've worked with some great people and people I really respect, people I enjoy working with, and I enjoy going to work every day. And so please apply to the graduate program, or if you're a PhD candidate, reach out directly to us.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll read my closing spiel. Tonight has been another event as part of the RACI Careers Development Program. Through webinars, networking events, mentoring, lectures and workshops, the RACI Careers Development Program aims to help graduating students and early career scientists get the best possible start in their careers. Our upcoming careers events include Camaraderie next week and Ask Me Anything the following week with an experienced scientist. The recording of this event will be uploaded to the RACI Careers Development YouTube channel over the next few days, as well as to our careers site at raci.org.au. In the meantime, our sincere thanks to Robert and Asma for taking the time to be here tonight, and of course to our sponsors, DCS Technical, Envirolab and Laboratory Credit Union. Thank you very much. There we go.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having us, Dave.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and really informative. I hope that you'll both keep me when you're looking to recruit. Keep me in the loop. I'll make sure that we spread the word.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dave. Nice to meet you, Rob.
Nice to meet you. Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye all.